So our first speaker is Janet Lees, who is the, what's your title? The Senior Director of SF Made in San Francisco. Janet?
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. It doesn't take a lot of arm twisting to get me to come to Portland. I really love this city a lot. So what I have for you today is a pretty high-level overview of SF Made, who we are, what we do, who we work with, how we work with people, a little bit about how we measure our impacts, who our partners are, and what some of our challenges are. I have been with SF Made since the very beginning, when we launched in 2010 with my colleague and our executive director, Kate Sophis. The two of us knew each other from previous jobs in economic development, and we really decided that there was a need, and it was perfect timing to create an organisation that focused specifically on urban manufacturing. So in 2010 we came together. We had absolutely no money. There was two people that thought we could really do something, and fast forward almost 5 years later, we have 7 full-time staff people, 1 part-time, 2 interns, and we're about a $1.4 million organisation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got there. So previous to SF Made, my background has always been in economic development and microenterprise development. I worked for a large organisation in San Francisco called the Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center for many years as the program director. And whilst I was there, I saw a real need for a focus on product entrepreneurs who had come through business planning classes, had great ideas, especially with apparel manufacturing, but didn't know where to get anything made, didn't know how to scale a production business, and it was obvious to me that there was a real need for some specific programming around this. So ironically, at SF Made, our biggest sector is our apparel sector, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So this is who we are. We're a non-profit economic development organisation, and we're the only one in the Bay Area that focuses specifically on manufacturers. Our mission is to support and build and promote the manufacturing sector and to create jobs for the local economy. That is what we're funded to do. At the very heart and soul of what we do, it's all about job creation for local San Francisco residents, primarily entry-level jobs into manufacturing companies who offer much higher wages and much more potential for advancement. So our funders are very interested in how many jobs are created and how many jobs are sustained. That is the heart and soul of what we do. Our biggest funder is the City of San Francisco. They were our first major partner, which was critical for us in terms of credibility and raising money in the beginning. Our other funders are banks, corporations, foundations, individuals, program fees. Fundraising is always an ongoing issue with a non-profit, so we're always looking for new funding partners and new ways that we can create new programs and different kinds of impacts. So San Francisco, we are really set up for artisanal small batch manufacturing. People say to us, oh, we didn't realize there were still things being made in San Francisco. We can't believe that you have so many manufacturers. What's all this about a manufacturing renaissance? The truth of the matter is we make small batch, high-end, primarily consumer products, apparel, food, beverage, furniture, stationery. It's pretty much all consumer products. And our biggest sector, as I mentioned before, is the apparel sector. So that is sewn products, clothing, bags, scarves, other kinds of accessories. The second biggest sector is food and beverage. And the food and beverage sector is actually our biggest job creating sector. So we've got a lot of breweries, urban wineries, a lot of specialty food companies, and they're very, very high on the job creation side of things. All of our companies are on our website, sfmade.org. If you're curious about who our SFMade members are, you can see them all. They're all categorized. So this is a really nice slide showing you who the majority of them are and what kinds of manufacturing they're doing. So just a few little factoids. Job creation obviously is what our big measurement is. So in 2013, over 13% net new jobs created by the manufacturing sector. We survey our companies every year, get very detailed workforce data, all kinds of data from them. The job creation thing is what we're really looking for. A lot of them are very young, so 30% of them are less than 3 years old. So what we're seeing now are a lot of really small, brand new companies starting up in San Francisco. 50% of them are women-owned. Average employees is 9. So we have a whole range here from a one-person business. Our biggest company has 250 employees and the average is 9. So for the most part, they're very small companies. They're nimble and they compete on design and customization. So we've got a lot of great designers in San Francisco. They're designing really cool products. And they're able to do customized options, which is what consumers really want. SF-Made membership, we started in 2010 with 12 companies. We've now got over 550 member companies. And when I say a member, I mean companies that are headquartered in San Francisco and making at least one of their products within the city limits. We have a pretty strict membership criteria, but that is a lot of people and a lot of companies. There are over 4,000 jobs sustained through those companies. So we're going to talk about a few of our entrepreneurs, a few little case studies. This is a really great example of a startup who they've got 17 employees now. They came to me in the very beginning, 4 years, almost 5 years ago, very young, guys about 23, no design experience whatsoever, with this idea to start a apparel company, casual shirting for guys, check shirts is what they started off with. They had no idea what the legalities were of starting an apparel company. They didn't know where to get anything made. What we really helped them with was connecting them to sewing factories in San Francisco. So a huge part of what we do, a huge part of what I do, is connect designers with sewing factories. The sewing factories don't have websites, nobody knows where they are. I know where they all are. I know what they do, what they specialize in, what their minimums are. So a critical piece of what we do is connecting designers to subcontract resources. So Tailor Stitch, this particular company, utilizes about 4 SF-Made sewing factories. And they did all of their California garment manufacturers licensing with our help. They have a retail store in San Francisco now where they carry a lot of SF-Made brands. So we've been working really intensely with them since the beginning. So this is kind of a very common theme, is I see a lot of entrepreneurs who don't have design experience. They're just straight up entrepreneurs who see an opportunity in the marketplace, figure out how to get the product designed and get it to market, and these guys are doing really well. They probably release about 2 new products every month, and so they're very quick, speed to market. That's the real model for local manufacturing, is being able to get things very quickly to market into local factories, produced, sold, and then go on to the next product. So they're very, very, very successful, and 17 employees, so great for job creation. So the next one, Joshua Vella, another really nicely designed product. They specialize in bags, tote bags, leather bags. They do a lot of private label for companies, specialised custom bags for corporations. They sell in a lot of high-end stores. They have their own small studio in San Francisco. We've worked with them a lot on helping them to find qualified employees, skilled craftspeople to work in their business. So that is one of our core functions as well. We help our businesses to find local craftspeople from the local workforce, and we have a special hiring program to help them to do that. So Josh Uvella, they've got 6 employees now. I've known them for many years. It's taken them a long time to get to 6 employees, but they've got a really nice business and very high-end and really, really nice products. Ohio Design, this is one of our really successful companies. They are very fortunate. They're one of the very few furniture designers in San Francisco. And they're getting all of the local business with all the tech companies. They're doing all of the office build-outs. So they've done Airbnb, they've done Twitter's headquarters, they do a lot of local hotels. They're one of the only furniture designers in San Francisco, and that's largely because space is so expensive, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But they are in one of our really intensive programs. It's called our Business Accelerator Program, and it's for companies that have at least 5 employees and want to do strategic growth planning. So Ohio is in that program. We've helped them with all kinds of things, from efficiencies on the work floor, lean manufacturing, to putting new financial systems in place. We've helped them to hire a lot of key personnel. So that's one of the things that SF Made does, is offer really intensive strategic planning for our larger and growing companies. And then finally, Kika's Treats is a very small specialty food business. We've got a lot of these. There are a lot of food companies in San Francisco, and a lot of really small ones starting up. Kika's Treats is located in the American Industrial Center in San Francisco, and this is a 3-block building that's privately owned and has 350 businesses inside of it. Many of them are manufacturing companies, and it's like an ad hoc incubator. It's almost like a community of manufacturers. So Kika's Treats is located inside of this American Industrial Center. She's got room to grow. There is more space available if she needs it. She's only got 3 full-time employees. She's very small. She does a lot of local fairs, a lot of selling events. So SF Made's helped us specifically to get into a lot of wholesale accounts, leveraging the SF Made brand platform. So we're able to help our companies through the SF Made logo and the brand platform to get into new selling opportunities. So advantages of local manufacturing, there really are speed to market, being able to get things made very quickly, rapid prototyping, rapid speed to market, especially for apparel designers. Some of these companies are designing new product every week, every month, they're launching new products, getting it out to market, getting it into the local factories, getting it turned around within 2 to 4 weeks, selling through, moving on to the next thing. People like Taylor Stitch, like Vita Brand, another one of our great success stories, they crowdsource ideas. So they put an idea up and they say, okay, here's a design for a man's jacket. If we can pre-sell 50 of them, we'll put them into production. So this just-in-time manufacturing model, when it's local, you've not got any, you don't have to buy inventory in advance. You're just ordering as much product as you know you can sell. So this is just a very powerful model, especially it's not cash intensive. So you're not holding inventory, you're making small batches and selling through. And this is what makes it doable for so many small entrepreneurs getting started. So short production cycles, short delivery times, ability to do custom features, that's huge. You can sell and mark up. Profit margins are really high when you have customizable features. Locally made branding, obviously you're telling the story that it's locally made, that's very powerful. Also, less things can go wrong the closer to the supply chain you are, so you can literally walk into your factories, see what's going on. Things will go wrong, but you're right on top of it from the get-go. So being close to the supply chain is very important, intense quality control. Also flexible terms. When you're working with a local factory, for example, the more of a relationship you have, they'll give you shorter lead times, they'll give you lower minimums, they're willing to work with you. So being able to have that really close relationships is incredibly important. So this is really our pillar of programs and services, and we have a tremendously broad swath of programs and services for our manufacturers. We're dealing with manufacturers that are 3 months old and manufacturers that are 100 years old. We're dealing with manufacturers that own their own buildings. We're dealing with folks who are ready to get evicted because their rents are going up. We are dealing with people who have, barriers to entry for certain reasons. And so we've created this really very wide set of programs and services. We provide educational workshops. We do intensive consulting. We do a lot of sourcing, which I've already spoken about, connecting people to local factories. We help people to raise capital. We have a full-time person who all she does is help our local companies to hire from the local workforce. So we're connected to all the local workforce agencies in the city, and we're able to place people into these jobs. We have a job board on our website. All of our companies post their available jobs on the SF-made job board. So we also did a youth internship program this past summer, which was really incredible. We placed 45 low-income high school students into internships with SF-made companies that came with a paid stipend. So we're trying to expose the next generation to the possibility of a career in manufacturing. We're also working with the San Francisco Unified School District on a program called Inside Manufacturing, where we're actually working with school kids. We're taking them on factory tours. We're bringing speakers in who are entrepreneur manufacturers, and we're teaching them some entry-level workshops about supply chain and manufacturing principles. So we're incredibly excited, and there's a lot of funding and a lot of interest in that. So local brand and retail platform. This is a huge reason why companies join SF-made. It's free to be a member, by the way. They want access to use the SF-made logo, so they use it on their packaging, on their websites, in their garments. And we, SF-made, are able to open doors to new market opportunities through partnerships. We had a pop-up store at Banana Republic for 2 years. We have a small store at the International Airport. We are working with Pinterest on a new program. We have worked with local shopping malls to have discounted kiosks for SF-made brands. We have a retail map that was sponsored by Levi's with all the retail stores in the city that carry SF-made. So we're able to really leverage the brand, and that's what a lot of our companies really want. So that's a huge piece of what we do. And then places to make real estate. This is something I want to talk a little bit more in depth about. So we're very, very constrained with real estate in San Francisco. Prices have gone through the roof. We have a person who works with companies looking for industrial real estate who does free searches. This is called our Places to Make program. So we know where all the zoned parts of the city are, we know where all the available buildings are, and it's a free service so that we can spare our entrepreneurs the time and the heartache of going around looking at all these buildings that might not be suitable. One of the things that our person does, it's a part-time person who has a commercial real estate license that we have on staff that does this. So they help people for free to find space, to negotiate leases, and also to think about design and build out, think about what they want to use the space for. One of the things that's really powerful is we're able to cluster people together. So if we have 3 entrepreneurs all looking for 500 square feet each, and we can only find a 1,500 square foot building, we could put 3 people together. So that's the power of the community, a big piece of what we can do. There was a piece of legislation passed in San Francisco in April that SF Made was very much involved in, that gives developers the ability to build in industrially zoned areas if they will hold 1/3 of the space for manufacturing. They can use 2/3 of it for office space. So we feel that we need to try and get some newly built space for manufacturers. We're running out. This is space that's underutilized, that's already vacant. And currently we're working on one project with a developer who is going to do this. They're going to turn 1/3 of a brand new development into manufacturing space. SF Made's working with them on helping to design the space and make sure that it's appropriate for the kinds of needs that we're seeing from our entrepreneurs on the ground. So we're very excited about that. We are losing companies to the East Bay. It's the first time that this has started to happen. So we've got 2 ends of the spectrum. We've got the brand new companies that are looking for space, and we've got the more mature companies that are looking to expand and grow. We do have quite a few of our older companies that own their own buildings, and they're clearly in the best position in all of this. But this is not going to go away in San Francisco. The city is very progressive. Our zoning laws are pretty good. We do have space available in the Bayview and in the eastern neighbourhoods. A lot of people don't want to be out there, but I think that's where they're going to have to end up going. But this is, you know, a bigger conversation, but at least we did get some legislation passed, which was a big victory for us. One of the other things I want to mention here is that SF Made is a founding partner of an organisation called the Urban Manufacturing Alliance. And this is a national organisation that works with cities who are engaged in urban manufacturing initiatives. We co-founded this organisation over 3 years ago. And it's got about 30 members now. We have an annual conference every year. We just had one in Philadelphia, actually this week. And it brings together cities. Everybody's involved in this: Chicago, Detroit, Boston, Philadelphia. What we're trying to do is talk about best practices across all these different cities, and we know that there are all kinds of different needs and different issues in different cities. But 3 things that have come to the top for most cities are: they want a locally branded program, they want to work on workforce issues, how are we going to train the next generation, and real estate issues are a big one. So we've actually created 2 toolkits already. They're on the Urban Manufacturing Alliance website. One of them is a toolkit modelled after the naval yards in Brooklyn on creating a non-profit industrial development organisation. So the Brooklyn Navy Yards has hundreds of businesses, many of them are manufacturers, and it's run by a non-profit corporation that leases all of those buildings to manufacturers. So there's been a lot of interest from other cities in creating something similar, finding land, having a non-profit entity run it so that it really meets the needs of local manufacturers and helps to create jobs. So if any of you are interested, there's a fantastic toolkit on the Urban Manufacturing Alliance website. So SF Made, we've been involved, we've worked with many different cities. We've worked with Copenhagen, we helped them to launch Copenhagen Made. We're working with Amsterdam, we've worked with Montreal Made. We've had visitors from all over the States, a lot of foreign visitors wanting to know how did we create this really powerful SF Made platform, and the Urban Manufacturing Alliance were just trying to really formalise this into real working toolkits. So check out Urban Manufacturing Alliance. How am I doing for time? 5 minutes?
You've got 5 minutes, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, what qualifies as locally made for us? What qualifies as a certified locally made manufacturer is when a product undergoes an essential transformation in San Francisco. So an example of that would be if you're making t-shirts and you buy the blanks from somewhere else, but you print the design onto the t-shirt, that's an essential transformation. So that is what we consider something to be locally made. Our membership criteria: headquartered in San Francisco, at least one product made in San Francisco, and at least one full-time employee. We don't want this to be for hobbyists. This is for people who want to do this full-time, grow their businesses, create jobs for the local economy. And then the top 2 reasons why people join SF Made, there is an application form. We ask them, what is it about SF Made that appeals to you the most? The top 2 are always leverage the SF Made brand and a desire to belong to a community of manufacturers. So for a long time, I think manufacturers felt like they didn't have a voice, they didn't have a community. SF Made really serves that role. We've created an incredible community of manufacturers who do business together, who share resources, who advise each other, mentor each other, who do selling events together, they share space together. It's a small city, San Francisco. It's 7 by 7 city limits. So we're able to, have a community that has very close relationships and close ties to each other. So with that, I am going to throw it open to questions. Yes.
You might repeat this because I don't know.
Yeah.
In terms of seminars and symposia, what are the most popular topics for your manufacturers?
It depends who they are and what stage they're at. Our best attended on an ongoing basis is a seminar I teach. It's called How to Manufacture Locally for Apparel. And it's for apparel designers who want to manufacture in San Francisco. I teach this class every month, and our space only holds 40 people. It sells out every month. I'm just floored at how many people there are that want to start their own apparel companies, for one thing. But this seminar it's very practical because I give them the list of where all the factories are, where all the pattern makers are, where all the sample makers are, how to source fabrics. It's kind of a how-to. So that's the most popular, and we do it every month. For some companies, it's lean manufacturing. It's anything to do with extending the brand or getting into new markets. Every company needs that, whether they're 3 months old or 100 years old, always looking for new customers, how to leverage the SF Made brand to get into new opportunities. But we've got a very broad swath. Sometimes it's very specific legal issues.
Maybe a follow-up question is, what do you do to promote the SF brand so that it carries that value?
We've had so much press. We've been in the New York Times, we've been in international design magazines, we're always in the press is always coming to us to ask us for new stories, new trends. We haven't done very much, to be honest, in terms of proactively trying to promote it. From day one, our membership has just grown. We've had keeping up with the demand for new members and has been, with a very small staff, we've just been inundated from day one, basically. So I think we've just got, it's a great brand, it's a great logo, we've got a great website, I think we've got really good messaging. A lot of our companies, they all promote it through social media, so they're always talking about SF Made, hashtag SF Made. The SF Made logo's everywhere, it's in retail stuff, shop windows in San Francisco, it's on packaging, it's on websites, it's on physical product, it's at trade shows, they take SF Made banners and put them, I mean it's kind of, the community's really adopted it, which is exactly what we always wanted, and really propelled it forward.
So given the relatively small footprint in San Francisco as a city, do you see expanding to the East Bay as kind of a natural extension?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because I actually live in Oakland. My husband is a furniture designer in Oakland. I know a lot of Oakland brands. We've done a few things already. So for example, I have an inventory of Oakland sewing factories. So if we can't make something in San Francisco, our goal is to keep it in the Bay Area, keep it in California, keep it in the USA. So, you know, part of the Urban Manufacturing Alliances, I want to know what they make in Chicago that we can't make in San Francisco. So we're trying to create this knowledge base of what are all the different cities in the States able to make. So obviously, I send business to Oakland all the time, to Oakland sewing factories, and we were actually funded to create that directory. I think it's inevitable that it's going to be some kind of a regional play, but I don't know how that plays out because SF Made is such a specific organisation with very specific funding, but I think that's to be determined. We've thought about maybe starting an Oakland Made underneath the SF Made umbrella. I think all these things are possible. And I think we're getting to the point where we have to do that because a lot of our brands are moving at least part of their operations to the East Bay. Yeah.
Janet, speaking of a knowledge base, I'm wondering how the story of SF Made is being disseminated. Obviously, people are coming to you and you're getting a lot of press, but has academia approached you to do case studies on it? And because it is an important ingredient in any kind of social and economic development strategy.
Not so much. I think through the Urban Manufacturing Alliance, we've had a very high profile. So, for example, the locally branded toolkit, I practically wrote that toolkit. I presented on it at the UMA. And so we're able to, you know, take our best practices and disseminate them that way. But we've not really been approached by academia per se yet. But that would be, we're totally, you know, open to working in that way. Yeah.
You said that you have an inventory of available buildings, right? What about spaces in buildings? In other words, are you finding that the very small firms have needs that may not be met by, let's say, whole buildings being available, that they need smaller spaces?
Yeah, so one of the things we're actually doing right now is we're doing an inventory of, in the zoned manufacturing areas, we believe that there are buildings that are not being properly utilised for manufacturing. So we're starting to work with the city to try and out all, because this is where we're at. We're so constrained for space that we have to. What we find is a lot of our companies need really small amounts of space, just like you're saying, and it's really hard to place them. So one of the things we're trying to do is put groups of people together, but their needs all have to match, obviously. That's not an easy thing to do, but at least we've got all these incoming inquiries. Through our website, you have to submit a formal request for a space search. So all that goes into a database of ours, so we're able to pull all that information.
Because the real estate industry, so to speak, probably isn't as effective with these pieces of space as it is with whole buildings.
Right. No, it's true. I mean, we're getting there because we're having to figure out every piece of the puzzle because we're so constrained for space.
What size spaces are typical for the types of businesses that you represent? And how do you work with a building owner to, I mean, market rate rents must be pretty commonplace, and it's hard to, especially if it's a new construction, to lower those rates perhaps to accommodate a startup.
So industrial real estate is kind of capped at about $2 a square foot, and deliberately so. So there are a lot of buildings, you can't charge more than that because you're in that. The question is going to be with the new construction. I don't think there's any, I don't think there are limits on what they can charge. And we're dealing with that right now with this developer that we're working with. Is okay, what is the real deal here? You've got your 2/3, we've got our third, but how much are you going to charge? They clearly can't charge as much as the office space, but it's not. I think it's going to be quite expensive.
Because of the demand.
Yeah.
How big are those spaces typically?
I'm not sure in the new construction how big they are. I don't know if they're doing some really small, 500 square foot. I would think so because we're involved in that.
Is that an ideal size for you, 500?
500 is what a lot of our companies want. And these are the ones that are not doing their own production primarily. A lot of people are outsourcing production. So clearly, or you could do really small production if you're a jewelry designer or something.
Great. Good. One more question? One more.
How are you seeing the makers movement influence local manufacturing?
That's a really good question. We always we go back and forth between maker, manufacturer. What is the difference? Where is the intersection? I just think so. SF Made, we're actually housed inside of Tech Shop, which I didn't mention. So Tech Shop is like Kelly's space here in Portland. It's like a gym for people who make things, so it's got machinery, computer labs, it's for, prototyping, small runs. There are lots of makers inside the Tech Shop. The question is, a lot of them are just tinkerers and experimenters, people who do it as a hobby. What we're really interested in when we think about manufacturing is, are you going to be able to scale and actually bring a product to market? So I think, it's a great thing. People are just talking about making things. The question is, what are you making it for? Is it, is it for a real business, ultimately?
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Welcome.